Welcome to the What's Over There podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic Judge and Jerry. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts Mattson
Better read than dead.
and Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead, hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification buttons. Tell a friend about us. Tell a family member about us. Tell a car boost about us. And tell them to find me something cool. We're in the final week 5 of Nicolas Cage movies. Wrapping it up for the month of September. It's been a fun month, weird month, but fun month. And we're finishing with Gone in 60 Seconds. It was released June 9th, 2000. It was written by H.B. Halicki and Scott Rosenberg, and it was directed by Dominic Sena. It stars Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie, Giovanna Ribisi, T.J. Cross, William Lee Scott, Scott Conn, Will Patton, James Duvall, Delroy Lindo, Timothy Oliphant, Robert Duvall, Chi McBride, and Christopher Eccleston. Oh, don't forget Vinnie Jones. He was in there too. It's about a retired master car thief who must come back to the industry and steal 50 cars with his crew in one night to save his brother's life. Whose pick was this? Oh, this was Alec pick. Dude, it's so far. I would have thought for sure it was a Mattson pick. This feels so far off of your kind of pick.
So, funny story. Like most people would think Nick Cage, Con Air, right? When they think about this, is what I think about when I think about kind of shitty Nick Cage movies. Is Con Air's not even really on the radar? It's Gone in 60 Seconds.
Gotcha. That's funny because mine's either The Rock. It's not Con Air. It's either The Rock or Face Off. But I do like this movie.
This would have been one of the. JJ knows me well. We're good friends. Could I have picked this one? Sure. But yeah. I was like, Alec picked it, so I'm fine with that. Not that I'm not going to, it's not like an incredible movie, but there's surely worse movies out there that we've reviewed of Nick Cage.
That's fair. So hold on. Did you pick Con Air because Alec had picked this movie?
Well, like of the two movies that I'd known Nick Cage, there's 3 movies that I've known Nick Cage is in, like without a doubt. It's Gone in 60 Seconds. It's Ghost Rider and Con Air. And I guess technically The Massive Weight of Unbearable Town, since it's like 2 years old, that would have been so there would have been 4 movies. Gotcha. There's only one of those that's actually a good movie.
Oh, that's fair.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I thought Con Air could have been like an okay movie. Obviously, we already reviewed it, but aside from the hair, but then as our listeners heard, I'd never seen it all the way through. And I was like, oh, well, okay, this kind of crapped
out. This movie for me, was where, God, what was I? 2000. I was 19. This is where shut up, Alec. It's not my fault you guys were still in fucking diapers when this movie came out.
I was in 2nd grade.
I knew this shit was going to happen. I much prefer when they're new movies or they're really old and nobody was fucking alive. For me, I was graduated from high school for a year when this came out. This was my first introduction, not first introduction, but this is where I really had developed my crush on Angelina Jolie for years, was this movie. I remember just thinking, wow, I like her look. I like her. She's scary as a human being. But I like that shit. I like an intimidating.
No, that movie for me was Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's about the same time frame probably when that came out as you were about the same age as I was when this came out. And that movie certainly intensified the crush. But yeah, this is where I don't like her. I
don't like her as a blonde. It just doesn't vibe for me.
I'm not a big blondes guy, but this I think it's the weird doo-doo dreads that do it for me. It's just a different look for her, and she's just an interesting character, even though she's not in it that much. But I overall I have issues with this movie, and we'll get there. But for the most part, it's an entertaining movie to me. Like, I don't have the problem that I have with this movie that I do with Con Air, even though they're not necessarily all that different. Other than Nick Cage is just Nick Cage in this movie versus trying to be some Marine Army Ranger redneck with a shitty wig. Like, I think that's the difference for me, is he's trying to be something he's not. And in this one, he's just fucking Nick Cage stealing cars versus trying to figure out I mean, doing what Nick Cage does. But as long as he plays that character, it's just Nick Cage. So I don't hate this one as much as I've hated some of the others we've done this month. What about you guys? Awfully quiet today.
I think for me, it's the Will Patton.
Mm.
I love Will Patton. He's not in like a huge amount of, we'll say, blockbusters, right? Like, remember Titans is one. This would probably be up there as another one. But he's very good at kind of playing this mentor type character, and easily able to kind of waffle back and forth between different kind of roles. So I just love watching him. And then Timothy Oliphant, whatever. I can't say his last name, but dude in anything he is in is just good. I mean, like during the whole chase scene with the last car and guy goes through the wall. Gets out, like, you okay? Yeah, okay, but you just went through a wall, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the added layers to what he's able to do with his voice, his facial expressions, everything.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. So, I mean, we're probably going to be the same theme where I don't like really Nicolas Cage in this movie. I feel like you could put anybody in that role, including Mattson, and it would still be a good movie.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know how I feel about that.
Because the supporting cast does all the work. It's not even most of the work. It is all of the work, to the point where they have to create these little moments for Nick Cage that don't feel organic. And there's no real backing of why this is the way it is. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I would agree. This is a perfect example of what I talked about when we talked about Con Air, and that is Nick Cage is almost always the worst actor in a movie, and he's surrounded, especially early films for him, like his most popular ones, the supporting cast, his cast around him is so much better than he is. Like, he's terrible. And I like the moments, like I laugh when you talk about those moments that you're talking about. Like, one of them is like the lowrider thing. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's, like, what the fuck is that shit? Like, he looks like he's having a seizure, and then he's like, let's ride. Like, you should have just left that out. Like, let's Chi McBride say something snarky, or, you know, I don't know, anybody else say something.
Robert Duvall?
Yeah, for real.
That's on the director, though. Like, save him from himself. Like, that's not... actors do all kinds of stupid shit. It's up to you to direct it in the way that makes the most sense. So, I mean, yeah, Nick Cage did it, but that's the director's fault.
Sure. No, I don't get me wrong. But, I mean, it also... I don't know. This is one of those movies, and maybe it's because I do enjoy the supporting cast so much that I forgive Nick Cage's ridiculousness. That, like... it makes the movie funnier because I somehow like it and make fun of it all at the same time. Because there are some great parts. Like, one of my favorite parts of this whole movie is Sphinx. Like, that whole character, like, where he just doesn't talk. Like, push button if it's you, push button on it when he makes the call, and then he comes out and blows the dude's car up. The snake thing, and then that final line where he goes all philosophical, and they don't hear a shit what he says. Like, he's all genius shit, but they're like, he talked. He goes, dude, I thought you were from Jersey. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? I love it. So there's lovable parts to this movie. I think that's what sets it apart for me.
I think they also missed an opportunity by having a little bit more fun with, like, the old generation versus the new generation, because they tease it a little bit. But then they kind of just everybody becomes all happy-go-lucky and friendly. And I think you could have had some more fun with especially because you have great actors on both kind of sides. I mean, Scott Kahn is gonna, Giovanni Ribisi, like these guys are gonna be able to carry a weight, and you can have this back and forth. They kind of tease and hint at, but don't ever really fully commit to. I mean, you can make it almost like a competition, right? Who gets the most cars doing it their way, something along those lines. But it feels like they were right there, and then they changed their mind or readjusted stuff. And it's like, oh, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I would agree with that. And to your point, like I like Timothy Oliphant. I also liked Delray Lindo, the cop. He's always good. Like his voice, and then like I love the part where they have the knuckleheaded pizza delivery guy steals the Cadillac. It's the drug dealer's car. And like they're all sitting there with the heroin laying on the floor by the muffler, so they get him to rev it up to blow it away. Yeah, like just Duvall's like fucking with him and like taunting him and shit. And he gets out and he goes, "Okay, I'm leaving." Like it's just like none of it ever happened. So I like that dynamic too about how like they have fun together, even though it's this like cat and mouse game. They're really kind of integrating well with each other and how they play off each other. It's kind of fun. So yeah, there's just a lot of good interactions, and I'm never bored watching this movie. There's some sexy cars. It's an interesting concept and story. You got a really funny villain in the Carpenter. Like, yeah, that Christopher Eccleston just cracks my shit up in that.
Yeah,
like,
what was that about when they were fighting? Like, don't break that, whatever that was like. I was like, what?
He's breaking off legs in the chair.
It's like
love that shit.
Freaking out. But then I was like, well, if I had put 20 hours into that chair, maybe I'd feel that way too.
Yeah. Well, and like when you listen to him when you first meet him, and he's talking about how wood is warm, metal's cold, and like he's just like, it's just got this. It's really funny to me. Like, and really, I have this other layer too that now adds to it because I know you, Alex. Sometimes you've dabbled, but I don't think you've watched the third campaign for Critical Role. But like Travis's character is a woodworking.
I've seen bits and pieces, yeah.
And so every time now watching this movie, which I haven't watched since the third campaign started, but like all I could picture when he was talking was Chetney. I mean, like, I love wood. Like, it's all I could hear. It was great. Oh shit. But yeah. So my big problem with this movie is the end, and not the end, but like the lead up, the last car chase. Like, look, that Mustang is sexy as fuck. The 67 Shelby, please, all day long, I'll take one. But the fucking brutal, and I'm okay with most of it until the jump off the.
Hey, it had super suspension, JJ. Come on, you just don't know.
That car would have broken half. And if the car didn't, the axles were toast. The way he lands, like you get that point of view of him going nose down. Dude, when I was selling cars, we'd take like trade-ins that were just beat to shit. But you'd get some tanks, like the old like Buick Regals or like the old like big freaking boat 80s cars, early 80s and late mid 80 cars. We jump railroad tracks and shit sometimes on them because there was some good spots to do that. Because we knew we weren't going to sell them. They're piles of shit. They're older than dirt. So we go jump them, fuck around with them, dude. I can't tell you how many times we cracked axles and shit. And all we did was get like 3 inches off the ground. We weren't some 30 feet flying for 100, like doing 108 going up a ramp and just and it just comes putting right into the. There's no fucking way. That car is toast, laying on that bridge, done.
Well, they also had a couple of cutscenes. There's scenes where the car got like messed up, but then obviously that car's too expensive to actually mess up in real life. And you're like, well, I just saw that car like got scraped up and it's totally fine. Like maybe do a little bit better job editing there.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that even the actual stunt cars were like a Fiero frame with some sort of body kit put on it to make it look like a 67 Shelby. Because you're not tearing up a 67 Shelby like that. You're not even knocking the mirror off a 67 Chevy
Oh, that's actually
or
one of the
a
scenes I'm talking about where
67 Ford.
the mirror got knocked off and you see the car driving. You're like, oh,
The mirror's back.
There's the mirror. Like, oh, hey, good job there. You didn't think I'd notice that. We're not that dumb, America.
Yeah, that's one of those little pop-up things that Amazon likes to tell you in the goofs. They're like, in this scene, the mirror was broken off, and now the mirror is back attached, and they're driving real good.
Like,
Love it.
Safety first.
Yeah.
I know I've been someone more silent. Like for me, this movie's fun. Like who doesn't like seeing cool cars, driving cool cars, and like putting together like a heist crew to make it happen. I do agree with Alec. I think they could have leaned a little bit more on the young versus old. I think they had something there. They could have done it more. Um, I sometimes I wonder, like, could this movie back then? It didn't. I was like, could they have done like an Ocean's 11 of like Gone in 60 Seconds and lean a little bit more into that vibe and done that? I think they had shades of that. Certainly with the bad guy, I thought that, like very over the top, but I thought it worked quite well. And I was like, oh, you could have like probably leaned in even more into the comedy side of things. And if they had done that, I think this movie may have been even better. Because if there's one thing Nick Cage has at least proved lately, he's quite good at playing like satirical, like not taking myself too seriously type characters. Maybe it's because he's found that acting bone in his body now, and he is. Let's give him credit. He's playing those roles
Yeah.
quite well. But a lot of the films we're reviewing right now that he's done back then, like he was trying to be serious and who he's trying to be, and it just doesn't quite land when he's amongst all these other actors that clearly are good actors, and just it's not up to par, and it gets distracting at times. And then like trying to make his character Randall and Giovanni like saying that they're brothers. I'm like, these two people could not be more different. Like this is not a believable brother pairing at all. And at times I struggled with that too because I'm like, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah. I think the other thing that bothers me is like the random acts of weird that don't actually act. Like the diner scene, as much as I love that shit where they hook up that car to the freaking big rig and he's trying to
Yeah.
distract him so he could do, but it doesn't add anything. It's just an additional thing that they have to overcome, right? Is that he's got this weird dude that's after him because he's stealing all his business. And I'm like, okay, it was funny. Like that scene is funny, but it doesn't add any real value to the movie itself and the story. And it's the same with the dog eating the fucking key and having to wait for it to shit. And then the gangsters come up and they're like trying to, you're in our turf, which completely wasn't believable. Like I'm watching these guys going, I feel no terror for these people. And then they're digging around in the dog shit and it freaks them out. Like I just was like, you had to work real hard to interject some comedic value. And the worst part is they did it with actors that aren't naturally funny. Like the only one that has is Scott Conn can do pretty much any of it. But like you have, like I said, you have Chi McBride, you have Giovanni Ribisi, who is more of a serious character in this, but he's funny as hell. Vinnie Jones playing a mute dude that just doesn't talk. That shit's funny in and of itself. So you have all these great moments of or opportunities for comedy, and you choose this weird, out of nowhere slapstick shit to try to add comedy and break it up.
Well, you also have Michael Pena in that scene.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's in that.
That's
like, just
fair.
have him start telling stories, man.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
it's one time meaning.
He was clearly
cousin
undiscovered at that point.
Yeah.
I don't think he did like essentially anything on screen.
Well, he doesn't even make the cast list, so I mean, he's so low down on this thing. But yeah, it just there were so many forced moments, and I don't. We talked. I don't like forced moments. Like, and if you cut those two out, you can still tell the story. And like you said, if they lean into the whole like young versus old, there's natural comedy. Because I'll tell you, the one kid, the one, what was his name? The dude with the fingertips.
Oh, Mirror Man, TJ Cross.
Yeah, Mirror Man. That's right, TJ Cross. Like when he and Sphinx are interacting. Like that whole thing is hysterical. But also when he and Chi McBride are playing off of each other, like, all right, young blood, I see you. Like, like there was natural comedy. Or when they go into the garage and they steal from the the house with the party in the back, and this dipshit's just staring at the chicks through the, like, what the hell are you doing? So it's just like they had enough comedic value. You don't have to add in the extra stuff that just takes you out of the movie. While funny, just doesn't fit.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the whole we have a deadline that we're trying
Yeah,
to hit um, kind of attitude.
yeah. Well, like it was 1, 2, but I realize you have to push him to the limit, right? Like you have to have him show up later. It doesn't work. But I'm like, man, it's just one thing after another, and I realize like you got to put the tension in there, but there could have been other ways to have the tension and drag it out. But like the whole thing, like him getting the dude getting shot, it's like, good lord, like what else are these guys gonna? And I don't know. I guess you just got to save the best for last with Eleanor, but I'm like, I'd have started with Eleanor because it's gonna
Yeah.
fuck it up. Then we bail, and
Yeah, I'm with that logic. I'm like, well, if that's gonna be the hardest one, why wouldn't we just try that?
yeah. But I did appreciate the moments of like Nick Cage talking to the car. Like that shit was pretty funny, and I do like, especially when they're scouting out where they're at, and he's like, "What's he doing?" He's like, "They have a history." He's sitting there talking to the car. Like I thought that shit was pretty funny because I could see somebody of a master level, like if they have a car that they just have never been able to steal, and it's a problem. You got to work your way through that juju, you know.
Yeah, exercise the demon.
Exercise the demons. But yeah, I mean, we did pick a couple of worse Nick Cage movies, but
Well, we did. If you haven't listened to them, go give us a listen and probably not watch them though.
yeah, I mean, at least the first one. I think I could rewatch any of the rest, but Con Air's rough for me. But I've seen this movie a ton, and it's one that I'll watch.
I can't believe you could rewatch One Man Army. Like, jeez.
It's a good one, Mattson. But I love the way this movie starts, right? It's got that Brain Sally
Yeah.
Up song going. It just gets you in the mood for what's about to come. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, it's hard to say that kind of happens in the other ones we watched. It's more of, hey, guess what? Movie started. Bam, drops you into it. But this kind of lets you get into the idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Leads you in. Makes it a nice little start.
Does have a really great soundtrack, this movie. Some really good tunes. But yeah, I'm with you. I also like the introduction to Randall, like to Rains when it takes him to the friggin' go-kart joint with the little kids and he's giving them a lesson in driving, and then I thought that shit. That one always tickles my funny bone a little bit. Is the way they introduce him. So yeah, like the intro's fun. I don't know, it's just a fun movie in my opinion. It's not great, but it's fun. It's entertaining. I've never left it going, well, that sucked. I was leaving, go, okay, that car wouldn't make it there, but I get it. It was fun. And I will say, it's a sinister way to kill somebody. Stick them in a car and crush that son bitch. The mess, like you squish like a grape. It's gross. But I like it. It's like, no, I don't want to work for that dude. I don't want to end up in a car getting friggin' mashed. And the fact that he's like quoting like the amount of like the pounds of pressure it'll take to like, yeah. He was a great villain. I love too the moment at the end, and he's like, Nick Cage is going off. He's like, my brother's good. He's like, yep, good, done, handled, no more. And then just punches the shit out of him. And then the anger pops up. Yeah, I really, really appreciated Eccleston's portrayal of that character of Calitri. And what a name. Eamon Calitri.
Yeah, they hit gold with that one. Okay,
yeah. All right, should we rate it?
Let's do it.
All right, Alec.
My movie, I get to go first?
That's right.
Yeah, so kind of parrot what you guys, or mostly JJ, I guess, was kind of saying is you don't really hate this movie the entire time you're watching it. It's a good watch through and through. There's not, you got to go in knowing that it's a Nick Cage movie about cars. because the believability is not there. And they have to create moments for Nick Cage to make it feel like a Nick Cage leading movie, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. I think I'm going to go solid 3. Gone in 60 Seconds. We'll watch it again.
Nice. All right, Mattson.
I'm gonna give it a 3. I think it's a good watch. I think you've never seen it. It's worth seeing. Good soundtrack, over the top villain, interesting subject matter, good looking cars. It's fun. It's not very believable at the end, but movies like this in this time period are any of them. I think you should watch it.
Yeah, I'll just round it out and give it a 3 myself. Like, it's worth the value. Yeah, I guess the juice is worth the squeeze. Sit down and watch for 2 hours.
Put that on a t-shirt.
That's right. Enjoy yourself. It's a mindless, no thought needed type of movie. Funny, entertaining. The supporting cast is amazing. Like, outrageous. Shouldn't be that good for a movie like this, especially led by Nick Cage. But, it's worth the watch. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's fast. It doesn't feel like, how long is it? Like 2 hours? I think it's a little over 2 hours, isn't it?
That sounds about right, yeah.
I think it was like, when I looked at it, I was like, man, it's longer. Yeah, hour and 58 minutes. But to me, it feels like a quick 90-minute movie. You know what I mean? Like, it just, because it moves. It's constantly going. There's very little downtime. Yeah, just fun. Go out and watch it. 3. It's worth the watch. It's entertaining. But it's not the best movie ever made. So, there it is. That was quick. We went through that one, but there's not a lot of substance to really talk about with this particular movie. Just cars and weird shit and Nick Cage and Angela.
I want to expound more, but it's a surface level movie.
Yeah. Back in the day, I'd have called this a Javier movie. It's a water.
100%.
It's a water skeeter movie. You don't have to think too deep. You just skim the surface on this one. All right, Alec, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us and how to watch our other episodes of Nick Cage?
Happy to. So like JJ said, this is week 5 of Nick Cage movies. So thank you for tuning in to our review of Gone in 60 Seconds, which is about how long this outro is going to be. Solid Nick Cage movie. Thank you to our wonderful patrons, Richard, Mel Brooks, and Raging Dumpster Fire, for a banger month in September and a killer lineup of some of the most Nick Cage films to ever Nick Cage. Patreon is the best place to get involved in the content creation, as well as request some of your own favorites for Patreon exclusives, which we're about to record one right now after this. So check us out there at What's Our Verdict Reviews. And with that, I will kick it back to the Maharaja of MASH, the Mauling Monarch, a JJ.
That's right. Yeah, you got to go check out the Patreon. In fact, we were having a conversation. One of our exclusive bits was in between episodes or after an episode, I don't remember, but Mattson and I were waxing poetic about Tua Tagovailoa getting his bell rung again, and Raging Dumpster Fire made a great comment during that video. He said, "Nick Cage for QB," because we talked quite a while about that one. So that's the kind of shit you can hear. It's just random conversations and then fit it into what we do. So thanks, Charles. Thanks, Rich. Thanks. I'm just gonna say Snuff because I can't keep. He's what he is. This dude, Mel Brooks still. But yeah, thanks, fellas. With that, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!